Check. All right. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thanks for the kind introduction. My name is Bo. Pretty much excited to be able to have this conversation. Let's also make it very interactive, right? So maybe I would allow the 4 panelists to do a 1-minute self-introduction, maybe starting from Prof. Yeo.
Okay, I'm Yeo Lin Wing. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for A*STAR, and I also proud to being a sustainability officer. I work at the National Research Foundation, where I oversee the R&D in urban solution and sustainability.
Excellent. Mr. Mok?
I think I just shared earlier, so
sure.
probably I'll just skip today. Yeah.
All right, my name is Lynn Low, and I'm with HP. I currently wear 2 hats. I'm the head of sustainability for HP in the Asia Pacific markets, as well as in charge of our global ESG reporting. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sok Mei Wong from UL Solutions. So UL is an organization in the testing, inspection and certification space, and our parent company UL does research and standards as well. So I'm the managing director for ASEAN, Australia and New Zealand. Pleased to see everyone here. Thank you.
Sounds good. So we have a nice mix of manufacturing companies, standards, as well as academic, chief, sustainability officer. So it's very good. This is a standard forum, right? So let's talk about standards. I think the last chart Casey Morris has shown is relatively quite complex, right? You have this little 3 circle on the left. They have this kite-like thing on the right with different arrows and all that. I was taking pictures. It took me 3 animations to get a full picture, right? So it is actually quite complex, right? The first question I will ask is, why do we need standards to begin with? Life is already difficult. Technologies are so complex to navigate. Sustainability policies are everywhere. Why we still need standards? Then we talk about how, right? How can we actually use those standards to start the sustainability journey? All right, Prof. Teo, would you like to share your view why standards are important?
Yeah. So first of all, if a company say that it is sustainable, so how do we tell? How can we tell that the company is sustainable? And therefore, I think it's important that we have guidelines, we have benchmark. So I think if we can have standards to measure, so we talk about not only just looking at what your company is doing, we really need to look at end-to-end kind of a carbon footprint. So if you purchase things from places that are not green, then it actually also affects. So when you want to look at standard, you need to look at end-to-end. Therefore, I think standard is important to make sure that you can really measure whether a company is sustainable or not.
That's very good. So standards are the tickets for measuring the baseline and measuring the improvement. Okay.
Benchmark. And guidelines.
Thank you. Mr. Mok, what's your sense on why standards are crucial?
I believe it's giving us a framework or guideline so that actually we can follow. Like I mentioned earlier, it's more for how we can review our data, evaluate them, and continue to improve on our operations. Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. Lynn, would you like to share your view? Any challenges in navigating those standards?
Yeah, there are definitely a wide array of standards, as we've observed in our presenters earlier. Just I could probably say, it's probably globally there's maybe close to 1,000, right? Ranging from very basic ones that covers our water use or energy use or waste reduction. I think these will be the essential fundamental ones to more elevated advanced topics like circularity that some of our presenters have shown. So there's so many standards out there. It can be really challenging to navigate them, definitely. So there are, I think, for any SMEs that's starting out on this journey, the recommendation would definitely be to look into your current in-house, the things that you can control, and start with that, right? Start with energy use, water use, waste reduction, etc. Before you moved on, right? Yeah, that's where you can control yourself most. For HP, I can say that we are very much ahead of that in our journey. We've been doing this for 20 odd years. We've been reporting our ESG progress transparently for the past 20 odd years. And for zero waste, we've diverted we've moved ourselves to this zero waste certification by True certification globally, and diverted 86% of our waste from landfill. Water use is also a major one that we're looking at beyond these typical energy or waste, and use of potable water standard. We've been measuring ourselves, doing our water accounting with this water footprint network, because we all know measurement, right, is the first step that sets your baseline. Yeah.
Excellent. I guess it all converges to a very similar message, right? Standards gives you the start to measure, right? Sok Mei, would you like to share your view on?
I think standards is an enabler. In fact, it's a differentiator for companies which want to go into the crowded global commercial marketplace. Use a case example. UL has a lot of tech giants in the US as customers, and all these tech giants have a very big push on sustainability, and they mandate that their tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers also adhere to all these sustainability goals. And so they adopted UL 2799, which is really a standard on zero waste to landfill, and this they cascade to all their suppliers. So to me, that standards are important not just as a calibration tool, it's also a commercial tool for companies that want to differentiate themselves, that want to do business with all these global MNCs.
Thanks a lot. I'm actually going to, I don't know, is there any way we can project the survey? I thought that was quite interesting from the pre-event. Should I articulate it, or can we? Here we go. Right. So the question, I think, just to bring everybody on the same page, right? The question asked is, for companies, are you already using sustainability as part of the business strategy and performance evaluation, right? And I think the questions are also framed that, many of the Singaporeans, we can actually feel, yes, we're looking at it. It doesn't mean that we're institutionalizing it, right? It's part of it. So most of the companies are actually looking at it. Some of them are, maybe 20% of the companies are reporting properly, the baselining, etc. A quarter of the companies are clearly needing a bit of the help, right? And I guess I would also maybe just flip into the questions that the floor has asked. One of the questions, very, very crucial, that has the highest votes. Can we flip it over? This is quite relevant for the panel discussion as well. Yes, the first question. The first one, let me read out, right, while they're saying, where do we learn how to count carbon footprint? I saw before some procedures, but still very technical for me, and I don't understand. And I think this is probably related to our second question, right? Is, it's difficult to navigate the standards. Where can companies get help, right? Ms. Choi already shared a bit of the view from the ESG side, right? There are help, we can navigate the standards. What else we can do to start learning baselining, right? Prof. Teo, maybe we start from you.
Okay, so how to get started? I think perhaps we need to get buy-in first. First is that CEO need to walk the talk. That's the most important. So top down. And bottom up means that you need to then have people who are committed to that. So I talked earlier about millennials who are really very environmentally conscious. So that's a starting. Okay, then where to get the help? I think some of the carbon abatement computation is quite technical. So, but you have university, A-Star also would be able to work with you. We talk about life cycle assessment because when we talk about how to calculate carbon abatement, I mentioned earlier that we need to do from development all the way to retirement. So if you just look at the operation alone, then you may not be able to really assess whether whatever you are developing is green or not. So I mentioned about EVs. So if EVs, if you just buy it for 1 year, actually you are contributing more carbon footprint. It is because of the amount of carbon footprint that you can acquire, can get out of it by all this mining for cobalt, lithium, and how you manufacture batteries. I think there's a lot of carbon footprint there. But for EV, when you start operating, then there's no emission. It's only the carbon footprint will be accounted for at the power grid, power generation there. So therefore, ability to be able to account for every aspect of the carbon footprint, I think is important, and we have the capability to do that. That's why I thought two things you need. You need to have a credible carbon footprint calculator and also life cycle assessment tool. Life cycle assessment tool allow you to do end-to-end computation of carbon abatement.
Excellent. So you have the tool. Where can we find those tools? Maybe Prof. Yeo, you can elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, we have actually one research institute called Simtech, and they actually do this. In fact, yesterday the Green Campus was also, we actually launched that together with TUSUD, and that was also the other, the Green Campus can actually help you to also make initial assessment of whether your company is sustainable or not.
Excellent. I think this question has the highest votes. I hope that question is answered very well. Thanks, Prof. Yeo. Salome, you wanted to comment also, right, from your angle, how you typically would help your customers. You know, they tend to be MNCs or SMEs to actually get started on understanding standards.
No, I think like Prof mentioned, it's really about measuring where you are first, and I agree with him. There are really software tools everywhere. In fact, I mean, go to the ITAP exhibition. There are a few companies which help companies install software to measure. And on standards, right? I think in order for you to look at what are the standards relevant for you, you first need to measure and find out where your problem is. It's only after you find out where your problem is, then you can look at the relevant standards to tackle or actually help you resolve the problem. Let's say if your problem is really on waste disposal, then you look for the relevant standards that help you look at how you can improve on your waste disposal procedure. So I think in order for us to help you, you actually need to know where your problem is first, and that's where I think is the first starting point.
Excellent. I think that you're bringing a very important point. Is it all starts with your objective or your problem opportunity area, if you like, and then using the mapping tool, finding the right standards to get started. Yeah. Lynn.
Add something? Yeah. So I think help is definitely out there. In fact, there's lots of help. So HB and SIM also worked on several, I think like we're developing 6 courses now, and going to develop more. I think a total of 15 courses, if I remember correctly, and they'll be available for Singaporeans and PRs. So you can look up for those courses on sustainability in manufacturing, and go for them, and use your Skills Future Fund. So help is all out there. Enterprise Singapore is giving help, and there are many organizations providing assistance.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to go for the question from the floor and then wrap up the conversation. Right, this question is actually very, very well sort of phrased. Right, it seems like in the next 1 to 2 years we'll have recession. Right, I think the person who raised it were not entirely wrong, and profit margin already started to have problem. To Singapore situation, is it a must we spend all the extra money now on sustainability? So I think the assumption is, to hit sustainability objectives, it costs money. I think that's really the underlying assumption. Mr. Mark, what would you say? Is this sustainability just for compliance, or is actually going to create bottom line impact as well?
Actually, I have a different view. So actually, we took the opportunity to invest in more projects during COVID time. So basically, I believe, of course, once we bring in new projects, actually can help us to work faster, better. So actually, in the same time, reducing our waste. So in a way that actually we are still playing a part. Therefore, like I mentioned, of course, SME is still not subjected to the mandatory reporting like LISCO, but at least please take the first step to understand the issues that is of material to yourself. Then actually, you need to get your team to come on board so that actually we can do things better. So I believe this is more on the mindset changes of this.
Excellent. I think that's really important, right? Is mindset also. Sustainability is not just to burn money to make it look green, but actually it has a meaningful financial outcome for the company. Yeah. Lynn, do you have anything to share on this front?
Yeah, I can add that, we have been measuring, so yeah, like you say, the ROI, right, of investing in sustainability. So we have been measuring, what customers are looking out for in their bids and tenders, in their purchasing criteria. And I can say that for last year, 3.5 billion of new sales in HP, has some form of sustainability criteria tied to it. So it does, bring about a financial return to the company. And again, this is an area that currently there's no standard of measuring that ROI, or I think there will be various standards probably, but there's no uniform way of measuring it. But we all know that investors are looking out for it, customers are including them and walking the talk, right, by including them into their purchasing criteria as well.
Excellent point, right? So may you have your view from the other side of the table.
No, I'm just sharing that sustainability initiatives, it's not just a cost, it's really revenue generating. I've shared earlier, it's like it opens up your consumer, your market space into the whole world, because it's like if you want to do business with major players in the global market, this sustainability initiative cost will pay out, because the incremental revenue you generate will more than offset that.
Very good. Prof, you have anything to add before we wrap up?
I think recession is a good time for you to consolidate. Consolidate means that and we have funding from ESG. Sok Kuk just mentioned, then you can get help from ESG. But I would say that for this area of sustainability, you have to look long term. So short term in recession, you consolidate, and you look long term, you will reap all the benefit. I mentioned earlier about branding, about attracting talent, and also going into new opportunity.
Excellent. I'm going to round up the conversation, right? What I've learned from the panel, I think this is also a good takeaway for the audience, will be the following, right? Number one, I think sustainability is imperative. It's not optional, right? Especially this is more important in difficult times for those who feel that the recession is coming, like Elon Musk predicted. This is the right time to get into sustainability. I think that the second point is standards bring organization discipline. Standards bring a benchmark for measure and baseline, right? Number three is, how do you get started with the journey? You start by asking, what would you like to address first? What is your sustainability objective? And then map the corresponding standards to get help from various stakeholders in the ecosystem. And with the mindset that sustainability does bring, business outcome, right? Meaningful profit, margin improvement, etc. I think that's really what, if we want to take away, this would be really the key messages here, right? We're good on time. Thank you all for joining the panel. Appreciated your input. I hope the audience also takes something off this session. Thank you.